Welcome back, fellow armchair generals. This is Gamer 1745 here, and we are looking at a rather historical conditions in Europe. Just showing the people on chat that Japan is doing much better than historically, of course, in China here. But so we're looking at Czechoslovakia. People self-delude themselves, obviously. There's self-delusion. And we can see that when Austria is independent, Czechoslovakia, with sort of an alliance with France, might think it can defend itself, especially if you're looking at, hey, Germany has a 100,000-man army. Well, the Czechoslovaks have a larger army, and maybe a better equipped army. So in those conditions, yeah, it can win. Now, it's also enough of a realist to know that it can't defeat Germany, even with just 100,000 men, because once you go to war with Germany, Germany's going to, if it were to, say, start an aggressive war with Germany, wanting to take some territory away from Germany, Germany's going to obviously start breaking the, Versailles Treaty, at least temporarily. That they had lots of Freikorps, right? And anybody who's looking at Germany at the time, from literally the immediate post-war, within 6 months or less, there are Freikorps all over Germany, and those are Freikorps is a free corps, or a the name goes back in Germany for quite some time, and they're basically mercenary units of various types and descriptions. Some are almost really established elements of various German states, like Prussia, like Bavaria or Hanover or whatever, long-standing sort of irregular light forces that would recruit people from various parts of Central Europe here. So there's long-standing traditions of Freikorps, and they meet all kinds of different definitions. I would say that in the sort of immediate post-one, I hope this is interesting to people, and I know I do get talked about trying to keep the thing flowing, but I think this is an interesting topic. In the immediate post-World War I era, well, immediate, is in the first 6 months. The German army has not retracted down to 100,000 men. But it is retracting down because it can't make payroll, it can't feed it. Soldiers are just like, hey, I was drafted into the army, I'm really a baker or a farmer or whatever, and I'm going home. And so it's maybe not quite, the collapse of the Russian army, with the Bolshevik uprisings, but it's just sort of demobilizing, people going their own way. It's ending. But once it sort of even settles down, there is well over 100,000 men in various Freikorps. Some Freikorps are actively fighting, like in the Baltic states, sometimes against Bolsheviks, sometimes against different factions within the Baltic states. You have a lot of Freikorps battling, a lot of which are sort of a different sort of group, but similar. A lot of revolutionary type, could be considered Freikorps, veteran soldiers that have military equipment that was acquired in one manner or another. And they're battling out. There's some battles in Berlin, there's battles in Bavaria, fairly serious street battles. We're not talking guys with clubs, like the SA and the communists were later sort of doing street. We're talking bullets and machine guns and even artillery firing type of battles going on. So, and all through the the interwar period, shall we say, until the Nazis get in power, the German government, or governments, because you do have, like Bavaria, we can look at Hitler's putsch He's just trying to take over Bavaria and maybe declare independence for Bavaria from the rest of Germany at the time. So you have local governments, you have the overall national government maintaining secret deposits of military equipment that were ready to distribute to Freikorps. Freikorps themselves having military equipment. One of the persons that is working for the army to help maintain contact with various Freikorps elements is Ernst Röhm, the eventual basic head of the SA. So, and he's not just working with the Nazis as part of it, but that is part of the SA were part of the sort of emergent, I'm talking like in the 20s type of thing, not later in the early 30s when there's, you know, millions of SA men all over Germany, just talking as when it's a sort of small local Bavarian movement. But there's also a huge German, or there's multiple German veterans organizations, huge numbers, and those guys were also looked on as people ready to arm. So Germany is doing all this kind of stuff. So everybody who's observing Germany knows that this is going on. Oh, sure, they're trying to you know, expose secret arsenals and collect the weaponry and stuff like this. They know there's a game going on, but they know what's going on. So Czechoslovakia knows it can't defeat Germany, you know, as in defeating them, but they know they can defend Czechoslovakia when they're facing a 100,000 man army that's able to swell up to 200,000-300,000 man with some Freikorps, defend themselves, especially with Austria as being independent. Once Austria becomes part of Germany and the National Socialists are remilitarizing Germany, Czechoslovakia has no real ability to hold out, and they're deluding themselves if they think they can. Now, the one sort of thing that they might have had going for them is if they had an alliance with Poland and Britain and France, and particularly France. No matter what Britain wants to do or is willing to do, it's just geographically not able to do, is do an offensive against Germany. So, but France is. Now, Britain can join in with France's offensive against Germany, but it can't conduct one on its own. So if France was ready to vigorously attack, Czechoslovakia has a chance to hold out. Now, Poland wants this more than it wants this little bit of territory, and Czechoslovakia wasn't willing to give it up to get an alliance with Poland. So they both wanted this territories more than they wanted an alliance with each other. So this has gone over to Poland. Poland is now feeling the pressure over the Danzig corridor. And once you're into this condition, there is no hope for Czechoslovakia. But I don't know what the hell the Czechs were thinking. And I've talked to my friend George, who's, I think it was his grandfather that was part of the SOS, that's a local paramilitary type, government-sponsored paramilitary type defense elements. You can see some of that covered in Third Reich Events for Hearts of Iron 3. What they were thinking, because they were at this time developing, let's see, we can come into here. They were developing the 38T. The 35 is already out and in production, and the 38T never really enters Czech service. They have them. I mean, there's a few prototype type, or early production vehicles that may be in Czech service, but 90+% of even the early ones are built under German occupation. I mean, they were designed by the Czechs when they were not occupied, but produced under the Germans. And they're also developing a fighter that, according to what I've read, and I forget its designation, is not enough better than the 109 to justify having two fighters in production. So even the Germans are acknowledging that the Czechs have designed and produced prototypes of a fighter that is better than the 109. Now, the Czechs are doing all of this. Why? Well, to defend their nation. I get that point. But they've got to see, and they start building border defenses once this border's come in as well, and that costs money. What are they thinking? If I were the Czechs, and maybe, there's self-delusion going on, and we can readily see this. Hello, Oakman. How you doing? Playing today. Yeah, we're going to hopefully make a few episodes, and will be shown through the week, and of course if you haven't watched them here. What I would be doing if I were the Czechs at this point, and I would have agreed to have the Sudetenland taken away once I knew France and Britain weren't willing to fight. Now, I would have been willing to fight so long as I thought they were at least willing to join in the war. And I would have given up this territory for a solid Polish alliance prior to the Sudetenland crisis. But, excuse me, but if I was at this point, you only have really left protecting you is the idea that Hitler needs to abide by his word so that he can continue to have good treaty relations with everybody else. And Hitler Hitler by the end of his life is completely delusional, Where's Steiner with the divisions and whatnot, And those divisions did not exist as a real, hey, thanks for hosting, I don't know. And so, they may have existed as in company or battalion strength units, but they were no longer divisions that Steiner was supposedly bringing to the relief of Berlin. He's delusional by the end. But he's not really delusional now. But he doesn't realize the damage he does to everything by taking the rest of Czechoslovakia. Because once he does that, Britain particularly will no longer trust any treaty with Hitler. See, I know I'm jumping around a bit, had Hitler left it like this and then had his war with Poland, the British might go, well, hey, Poland, if you'd just given the Danzig corridor, you would have had peace. But you didn't, so now Hitler takes, all or a big chunk of your country, giving part maybe to the Soviets. But because Hitler does not abide by the Munich Agreement, Britain is done with trusting anything Hitler does. So, hey, Toyjet. Oh, I'm just reading Oakman's. Yes, you now have a new mission in life, Oakman. And it will take a lifetime to do. Hopefully fun for you. So Hitler damages himself irrevocably by taking this territory. And that's what the Czechs are banking on to a point, is that even Churchill doesn't say peace in our time. He says peace for our time. Meaning, for our time now we have peace. But even Chamberlain, if I said Churchill, sorry, Chamberlain, um, starts after in '38, the Munich Agreement happened. He really then starts Britain down a rearmaments path. He realizes that there is a war coming with Germany in some format. So the Czechs are right to realize there's a war coming with Germany, but they can't possibly hold out. They can't possibly change the outcome of the war. So why do they continue the armaments development? Because having a better machine gun, what, it's going to mean your country lasts for another 4 days or something? Having a better fighter? I just don't get it. I would be, well, dismantling my armaments capabilities. I would be not trying to dismantle my arms and not have an army, because you need to protect yourselves. Oh, I don't know, from the Slovaks uprising or something. You have other threats. You have the Hungarians that want this. So you may have some need for an army, but I would be dismantling it, and I would be trying my damnedest to move my intellectuals, my Czech intellectuals that are particularly tech and armaments, to France and trying to get them out. And I just don't understand why that wasn't a goal or an objective. There doesn't even seem to be any sort of, secret plan to, if the Germans start moving in, we're going to quick rush these, 500 people and maybe families to the airports and put them on transport planes and fly them out of the country just to get, the sort of, not so much like the political leaders or the social leaders, but get some of the technical people out. And because Romania is still very friendly to the West at this time. So you just, whatever you're thinking with Hungary, that may not be the best thing. Poland might be a good intermediate stop. Yugoslavia is probably a good intermediate stop. So you can get the people out quite effectively, I think. But they don't even do that. And I just don't get it. And maybe it's just me looking back at the situation. But they had to see the doom coming. Again, my friend George, whose grandfather was in the SOS, and now that's forming at the time when there's still the Sudetenland, and I think there's going to be more action going there. But they're making plans for that. I don't get it. They know it's coming. Do you have World of Warships? Because I just downloaded it, and I'm going to have a bit of fun. I've not played World of Warships. Maybe I'll download it at some point. I'm not against the idea of playing it. It just, the videos that I've looked at it don't seem as fun as War Thunder's warships. But I could be wrong. So we may do that. Okay, I know this is a long start with nothing happening. But you got to talk instead of me reorganizing the Navy. As you see that there's now some ships moving around, and me reorganizing the armies to some degree that I did off camera. So you got a hopefully more interesting talk than me fiddling with stuff. Give him to Guderian. We may break up Guderian's force and give half or something to Rommel. Okay, the KDF wagon, the Volkswagen as it becomes known to us today. Okay, so that ends that tree. Now, rubber storage fuel silos. 32 days, establish Volkswagen vehicle factories. Sort of what I was looking for, 31 days. But I want to keep aware of other First Vienna Award. This gives territory over to 35 days to Hungary. Yeah, let's because I want the automotive factories established Volkswagen. Okay, we have free military factories, but I guess we first need to see where we need more infantry equipment, more uniforms. I've expanded production on a lot of those things. Okay, I actually recently reduced the amount of uniform factories, but we'll up it by 1, and we'll up this by 1. No, we don't have. Actual free slot. And yeah, that's the idea. Let the game go forward while I'm talking. It's just to a point. Part of my problem is that I feel I must pay attention as the game moves, but when I pause, I can give my whole thought to my lecture. So that's sort of what I'm thinking. But now, actually, at this time here, the name changed from Czechoslovakia to Czechoslovakia. They actually put a hyphen in between them during this time period, so the name of the country changes based on several various reasons, including Slovak independence elements. Let's speed this up now since we're not trying to talk too much. We've very much increased the numbers of divisions in training. Now, okay, Italy pursues closer bonds with Germany. Very nice. Okay. The Gengshi click, I guess that's sort of how you pronounce it. Capitulates. Okay, that's down here, I believe. Now, if I were historical Japan and doing this well against China, basically now they're just cleaning up, I would not have gone into alliance with Germany and entered the Second World War. There's just no good reason to do so. You've got what you've wanted. You know, what does Japan want with some random Pacific island? Sure, it wanted the German colonial possessions out here, but it's got China. Doesn't need to enter the war. Establish Volkswagen and restrictions lift on Bulgaria. Yeah, I'm actually sort of more fine. I mean, this is a god-awful colorization of this picture. That's just god-awful. But more fine with the idea that they just have some filler image than making a bad image for what they do. Hello, Dirk. Thank you. Okay, now we've got it. We've got it. Okay, been waiting for this. We've got the meal model. So we're going to convert over our production. Let's see what we want to do. That might be a better naval bomber than the Arados that we have. Oh, maybe there. Okay, air defense 26, 33. Okay, better naval attack. Better air defense. A lot longer range. Or do we just wait for the Condor? Maybe we just wait for the Condor. Yeah, this is where we should be doing dispersed industry and such. Okay, we establish Volkswagen, motorized equipment, structure technology, coal liquefaction, which is cannot be canceled manually. I think we're gonna though keep the political elements rolling as well, so let's do that. Waiting for the Falklift. Yes, hello, Mullen. How you doing? That's sort of the reasonably good long range naval bombers that Germany used. Okay, so I always feel like there's more national focuses to do than time allows. Yeah, I know to some degree some of them are meant to happen after the war starts, but still. Okay, Yunnan has capitulated. So now you have the Ma clique basically, which is what these guys are up here. I guess we're not getting back the Mongolian puppet. We're just going to have a bigger Manchukuo. Which is okay by me. better radars. Good. But we're going to come over here and pursue construction level 3. And HQ equipment has increased. Okay, 39. Approved oil plant. Fuel refining. Rubber processing. Okay, we need requires technology improved oil plants. That's what we need to research here. Improved oil plant. So that would be this one. Okay. So that will allow us to do this, the synthetic rubber, which we will want. Oh, sure, absolutely, Daruk. Love that you guys do that. That's really good support. Yeah, no, I really appreciate how much support you guys give me. I am critical of Black Ice, but I still think Black Ice is the best mod out there. I criticize out of love, not out of thinking you're bad. Sometimes it's a lot of the images, which I have a particular peeve on. Okay. Let's see. Uniforms we're catching up on. Radio equipment. We need more radio. Well, radio and recon. Okay. I want my units to be able to talk to each other and scout the enemy out. I think the radios are down here. Yes. That'll be the next one available. Let's put one way out here in the east. Well, I want to make sure we have rubber. Because I think most of my rubber trade will disappear. First Vienna Award. Belgium we can keep for a while. But most of the other stuff becomes, well, we get the Soviets, but... Okay, no. Okay, fate of Czechoslovakia, 42 days, not just yet. We'll do that 14 days. Total War mod is really bad. It is a really bad mod. That is my opinion of it. They do a lot of things like throw very unrealistic fortifications all over the place and other similar things messing with what's going on. We're going to do decryption. I'm not so much concerned about their technology trees. It's like I was saying, throwing fortifications out there and other unhistorical stuff that I just don't like. Okay, so Okay. That's what we just got, I know. Hospital, divisional attrition, dockyards, air bases. Hey, thanks for hosting. Do appreciate it. I think we will just get submarine workshops first. And unrestricted submarine warfare, very good. Okay, so we've got that. Wolf packs, that'll go pretty fast. Powering foreign nationals, very good. Okay, that was just a quick open up state affairs, 35 days, gain base stability. Hold sports, flat speed. Okay, well. 28 days anti-common, turn pact. Yeah, let's do that. Okay, well, more factories are coming online. That is good. Okay, so Japan has upped world tension. They've done the reorganized government of China. Very interesting. And we just lost our military attaché, so we no longer see what's going on there because their war is over. Well, that should be it for Japan. They should just pack it in and be peaceful for the rest of the game if they were smart. But hey, what fun would that be? Resources, yeah, we're a little low on that. MIFO bills will run out soon. Okay, good. Thanks for the notification. We do want to continue that. And we're way behind on this, but well, I don't know if it's still useful to continue. Reform military command. Okay, yes, we can start the Großdeutschland event chain. Okay, forming the... Oh. General's protest, assuring has final command of all, yes. Anti-Comintern Pact. Good. That should hopefully help us secure a few more allies. Now, okay, we're going to deploy these guys early. We're in a bit of a rush, and we want to train up more divisions. Okay, that will help. So many great things to do here. Let's do the fate of Czechoslovakia now. That will get us more factories and other resources. See, as they get the question of Czechoslovakia, as they say there, that is the correct naming at this time for the country. Okay, you guys, you come over here. Now let's form another. I don't know what to call these. Armies, I guess, would be the appropriate term. Okay, you can. Oh God, I hate that color. Let's give it this color. I'm never quite sure what to consider. This is a command size group. No, no. I want you. Okay, you're gonna move to Ost front. There we go. Question: Czechoslovakia. The Hungarian people have suffered greatly in the Great War, losing most of their territory to the Czechoslovakian state. They have already confirmed that they will press claims in the future, but we can also involve them in our operation. Okay. Czechoslovakia did actively invade. I mean, this is now sort of happening, sort of posted, but they did actively invade, or Hungary actively invaded Czechoslovakia. Very few people, I think in the tens, 10 or 20 people or something got killed. And talking earlier about what that the Czechs needed to have an army, and they did. But this is what they were looking to get back. Now, for various reasons, people have I idealized the Versailles Treaty and agreements and Wilson and the 14 points and other things like that. And I say for various reasons. Some for very cynical reasons, some for justifying all of the dead in World War One kind of reasons, others idealistic reasons because they want to think that mankind is good and charitable and whatnot. And so various reasons that they do, that they characterize the Treaty of Versailles. Now, of course, we sort of, those of us who have looked at it, okay, Arno, looked at Hitler and the Nazis, as well as other Germans, criticizing the Versailles Agreement. I mean, hell, the Germans were criticizing the Versailles Agreement from the day they showed up. They thought to negotiate it, but as it turns out, simply to sign it, it wasn't. They didn't get any negotiating chance on it. So, it's the Versailles Agreement is what causes World War II, in my clear and total opinion. It directly causes World War II. Now, humans are flawed. It's a flawed document. I'm not trying to, lay the real blame for World War II is on the French or something. No, that's not the point. I mean, you can only blame the people who start the war themselves, Germany, on it. But it's the cause of the war. So you have the idea of wanting to set up states based on national ethnicity. Okay. That's a very reasonable idea. Now there's the other idea of, which is, I think, mostly popular with most people in Europe. I could be wrong, but, and because Twitter and other things skew viewpoints. Most people in Europe believe that the national states are a bad thing. They see them, I don't know if quite as evil, more like causing evil. It's money isn't bad. It's the overly greedy for money that causes the evil with money. So, they want to get rid of national states. So you get rid of war. And that is sort of the whole EU thing. The EU really wants to make they don't want to be America in many ways, but they sort of want an American type federal system to be run and managed by, the Germans, because we all know how well everybody in Europe wants to be run and managed by the Germans, but they want to have this, hey, I want to have a job in Stockholm, but I'm Polish, no problem, or I'm English, no problem, or I'm Norwegian. Well, that is a problem, no, but no problem. They just want all this, to go away as a national state. Now, one of the long-term forces to not having national states has been the Habsburg monarchy. That is one of several, but one of the reasons Hitler hates the Habsburg monarchies. So, nationalism really, really starts to spread because of the French Revolution. And so people are, to this day, trying to nationalist, goes back sort of, to Spain and Franco as being a sort of a dirty word. And they try to, anybody who wants to be what in America we call a patriot, but some sort of a national pride, want to diminish that. So, national states as an ethnicity governing themselves. Because it would seem that Germans like a different government than the Greeks. And there's a lot of various things, and I don't really, partially because I can't do an intelligent job on it, but we can see the Greek financial situation not working out as well as the German financial situation. Just different national interests, different way things they organize up. And it's not just laws like, hey, don't shoot your neighbor, because it's wrong, it's murder, you don't do that. We're not talking about that, but we're talking about the laws that govern, national economic policies and other things like that, that each nation, based on its own culture, is going to have somewhat different solutions for these things. Now, I don't think the Europeans realize this. Because if the Europeans realize this, they would know that Italy's governments are constantly collapsing, shifting. I think it's just going through something recently with them. So if they realize this, that either Italy is going to be run like Germany, or Germany is going to be run like Italy. There's going to be, as the EU continues to grow, and I know, and I've mostly talked with people, a little bit online, with people in Britain over, Brexit and all this stuff. And they think that my viewpoint, sometimes because of my handle and whatnot, they think initially, because they're just typing online, think I may be British and not American. Now, again, most of you who know me, okay, Mullen, know that I've lived there for a while, so I'm fairly familiar with Britain, for an American at least. So, but that they say that my idea of, sort of a supranational state and everything is just some sort of propaganda or conspiracy theory that they've said. I'm thinking, no, I don't think it's not any conspiracy theory. I think it's right out and plain in the open that's the eventual goal and objective of some within the EU, and two, the natural centralization of powers. And I look at this, and I come at this from the American viewpoint. These United States, these United States in 1859, to be clear, the United States in 1865. You go from the plural pre-Civil War to the singular post-Civil War. You have laws that state, in the Constitution states, that anything not expressly turned over to the federal government, expressly stated in the Constitution, not just laws passed by Congress. Congress, hey, you can't pass any laws that affect the states unless it specifically says so in the Constitution. Well, under FDR, and they get it through the courts, saying, well, the Interstate Commerce Clause allows us to do things. So, under FDR, you have the idea that if you grow corn, say in Georgia, well, it might be shipped to South Carolina. I'm not even sure if they grow corn. I'm sure they have some corn in Georgia. But it might be shipped to South Carolina. So the federal government gets to regulate, like health and safety regulations. Are you storing your corn right? What pesticides are you putting on your corn? The federal government. I'm not talking that whether we want good health and safety. If I buy food, I want to know that it's been treated well. But the federal government gets to do it because it might be sold in another state. Now, the reason you may go, well, yeah, it's logic that it will because blah, blah, blah. Yeah, but the court case went after somebody who was basically growing fruits and vegetables or something like that, corn or something, literally almost in their backyard, and selling it at a local, and this is like in a smallish town kind of thing, local sort of farmer's market, that they would have every Sunday or something. And so that the guy was saying, no, I'm just selling, I'm not doing any interstate commerce. All I'm doing is growing this food and selling it in my local town for local people to consume. Oh, but it might be then bought by somebody that might take it to another state. So the federal government gets to regulate your growing of food. The federal government, not the state government, the federal government. Now, the state can also have its own regulations, but the federal government gets to do this. So there's all these laws now based on the Interstate Commerce Clause that really is only supposed to the idea, and mostly to keep, say, North Carolina from putting on a tariff from stuff coming from South Carolina. Or blocking the importation of stuff. It's meant to be a free trade zone type regulation. That's what it's meant to be between the states, and it was meant by the founders that each state was going to govern themselves. Okay. Now, whether you think our current federal bureaucracy and setup is a good way of doing it or a bad way of doing it, and there are definitely good arguments on both sides of the issue, because if, say, you were to have again a farmers growing corn, and if that farmer is only selling it to a company that only sells within Georgia, fine, but if he happens to start selling to another company that exports it to some other state within the union, he needs to go with a different set of regulations. There are reasonable arguments to be made. And so I'm not trying to push one as good or bad right now. I do think, yes, overall. Hello, USA man. You're always welcome here, and missed if you're not. So looking at that from the American perspective and watching how it went from a decentralized, hell, even before our current Constitution, we had the Articles of Confederation, which was our first government. Our first president of the United States was not George Washington. I forget who the first president was. George Washington is the first president of the United States under our current Constitution. But previously there was, and it was too decentralized of a system, the Articles of Confederation for the original United States as it was independent. So if you are looking for a large state, you don't want too much of a mishmash of what's going on. And so I look at that and naturally see more and more centralization of power in a capital of whatever type as a natural human government statement. So I don't think it's in any way a conspiracy theory for the I've been getting ready for a senior year of high school to start. Well, that sounds fun. I don't know if we need to pray for you on that one, but I hope you do well. So, and yes, this is running long of an episode, but we'll sort of do this. So it's not a conspiracy theory that they're trying to build a United States of Europe. I think that is some political leaders' objectives long term. Some, maybe not even most of the EU leaders. I don't know. I'm not trying to because there's the sort of elected and unelected leaders, and it's complicated, and I only vaguely understand it of all the in detail. But some of them have that, and then two, even those that don't have it, I think there's a natural progression, whether it's bureaucratic or whether it's legislative or even executive, to centralize power. So I can only see the EU moving down into that format. Okay, so does Italy want to be governed by German rules, or does Germany want to be governed by Italian rules, or do they want something that is neither? Not French or Polish or some other, but one that is sort of a blend of the two, and not fully one. I don't know how you'd blend it, but blending of the two between them. Do you want German beer and Italian cooking, or do you want German cooking and Italian wine? I obviously those are sort of, you get my meaning though. So, national states. And this is where we got off on this. And I don't normally forget where we start, and I hadn't. Okay, so the objective is to format national states. Well, Yugoslavia isn't definitely not a national state. And there's also, because this was originally, or Austria was originally called German Austria after World War I, and then they get informed that they're not going to be allowed to join with the rest of Germany, so they changed their name just to the Austrian Republic or whatever, or Republic of Austria or something like that. Well, Hungary is also a baddie of World War I, so it has a lot of territory chopped off of it. Some of it, in some regions, that definitely have a Hungarian majority living in them. And Hungary wants to get its some of its lost territory back. Some of the territory that was lost just sort of makes strategic sense for Hungary. Some of it is based on the ethnicities who's living there. The Hungarian people have suffered greatly, losing much of their territory. We've already confirmed it. Okay, but we can. Okay, Kingdom of Hungary. Press further claims. Gains claims on Carpathia, Ruthia. Activate the Hungary-Slovak War. Or shouldn't be political power. Hungary gets Adolf Hitler. Betrays promise. We're going to let them press claims because we would like Slovakia might be a decent ally, but we want a stronger Hungary, and so we're going to go with this. And with that, we're going to end this episode. We will be back for continuing episodes. Those on lives on stream, don't go anywhere. But those watching later on YouTube, you can come back next time for more episodes. If you haven't already, please subscribe to the channel. If you've made it this far, you better. And also, you can like the video. And please post comments, questions, including the ones that tell me, hey, keep the game moving. I know I get into lecture mode. I hope it's interesting. So, see you next time for more Hearts of Iron.